Don't forget his overlay.
Good. Go ahead, Ivan.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Good evening, folks. I hope you had a good week last week. And I hope you have a good week this week. What I'm going to talk about today is something a little bit different than what we've talked about before. And I'm going to do kind of a what if kind of thing. You know, I told my brother one time that he was trying to think of how the water got on the earth. And what I told him was that Mars passed so close to us that it dumped all its water on the earth. And that's what caused the flood. Now, do you believe that? Well, it's probably true, or it may not be true. But it's an interesting thing to think about anyway. Like, how come Mars had a lot of water and they don't have any now? And we have a lot of water. We have lots of water. We have oceans of water. And one of the things that may be going on in Mars is that the water is underground. Now, there's a lot of water underground here. Did you know that? Maybe you didn't. But there's a lot of water underground here. And there's some speculation that the floods were even caused. The flood was even caused by water coming up from the ground. Because how would there be so much water in the clouds above us to flood like it did, so that the whole earth was covered with water? Could be that the water was underground, and it still is. A lot of it still is, and that's what caused the flood. But the good Lord said, not going to do that again. Not going to do that one again. We're going to breathe fire next time. Well, maybe not while we're around, but that's something that could be happening. There's a few things that could be kind of interesting to think about. I brought a book with me, a little book, a very little book, written by a man many years ago. And this is about USP for flying saucers. USP means United System of Physics. And it is a different system of physics than we have now, that we espouse now. There are some formulas, some constants. You know what a constant is? It's a number that's always there, that you always use to make things come out even. Constants that are make it come out even. Well, maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. But the USP is the United System of Physics. Now, remember, several times ago, I talked about ether. Well, there's ether involved in this. And the ether is full of space. There is a spatial fluid. The space is not empty. There is a spatial fluid. And that is one thing that's talked about in here. That there is something out there that things can travel through and around. And it's ignored because nobody can measure it. Well, just because you can't measure it doesn't mean you shouldn't shouldn't believe it, or shouldn't think about it, or shouldn't try to figure it out. But that's what's important in the United system of physics, and that's a whole new system. Now, what can you do with that system? Well, one of the things you can do with it is you can see this here? Flying saucers. See that? For flying saucers. This man put together the mathematics for flying saucer, and this book tells all about the flying saucer, except it doesn't say exactly how they can build a flying saucer. All it says is that the thing that can weigh 30 tons in a disc shape can lift itself off the earth if the physics, the electricity, the electric fields are all set right. It can lift itself up. And we'll talk more about that in a few times to come, because that's an important thing. Can you imagine what it would be like if you had a car or a boat or well, you don't need a boat because they float. But how about if you had a flying saucer? How about if you had a spaceship that could go and turn in real tight corners? That would be something, wouldn't it? It would be. It would help all of us. The only thing we'd have to have other kind of traffic control, I suppose, so they wouldn't run into each other all the time. But what seems kind of strange in all of the sightings that have been made through the years, and there's a bunch of them listed in here, is that they can move these things in very tight corners. Like what they observe is that these flying saucers, these flying ships, whatever they are, make a fast turn. And nobody can figure out how they can do it, because if we were doing that, say we were going 2,000 miles an hour, and all of a sudden the pilot turned, where would we be? We'd be like squashed flies. You know, the gravity would just smash us against the bulkheads, except for one thing. I think that these things turn within their own field, and those fields are such that this entire thing, you and everything in the spaceship, turns in a very tight thing, but you won't get smashed, because that's the way things will be with you, because you are part of that situation. Well, I probably talked enough about that today, but I'm going to talk about it again several times, because it's important to maybe get the math out there. Maybe you guys would like to see the math out there. Would you like to see that? Sure, you'd like to see it. Otherwise, people just talk about, well, people are negative, positive, or positive, negative. Anyway, positive. Let's put it that way. You know what happens when you put two magnets together on the positive end? They separate. Or on the negative end, they separate. And that's what lifts the flying saucers. Now, it's a little more complicated than that, and there's also the idea that maybe there is another element that we're not that familiar with, us in the chemistry classes and the physics classes in the universities. Maybe the people that build these things, Area 51 or someplace like that, put it in there, and that may be part of it. I don't know. It would be nice to know, but we will move to having flying saucers, flying ships. We will move to a free energy situation that we can all enjoy. And we will fly around. And we'll fly even to Mars, and fly maybe to some of the other planets if we want, or to the moon. You could speculate on flying a lot of places, but there's one thing we don't know yet, they've got to find out, is where are the holes that you can get into and they zoom you right to the next planet, or zoom you to wherever you're going. And that's going to take a lot more discussion than I got today. So, until next time, I'll see you.